Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Torchwood. Last time on Torchwood was Captain Jack Harkness. What was that episode about?
Well, Jack and Tosh went to investigate this building and heard music and got transported back to the 1940s. And then Gwen came because she couldn't contact them, and I can't remember, did she actually go back to?
No.
But she was able to find the messages that Tosh was leaving her, and they figured out they had to open the rift to do something to get them back. But the main thing is Jack met the person he had taken his name from, and essentially the two of them had a brief physical moment. But then the real mystery is who is Billis Manger.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking that's got to be an acronym or an anagram for something, but I never could figure it out. But anyway, so we're still trying to figure out. Jack and Tosh get back to the present, but we know, can't remember if they know that Billis Manger is still in the building, 60 something years later, and hasn't aged a bit.
Yeah. So, and there was also a bit of conflict between Owen and Yanto about opening the rift, and Owen being very distraught about it, basically saying it's like, wow, the rift took my lover, now it took my captain, and I don't want to lose anyone else to this thing and stuff. And it's like, okay. And I don't know. Okay.
And Yanto shot him.
Yanto shot him. It didn't work. So, I again, credit to this show that people will shoot people. So, I mean, that was one thing on the episode we just watched of Doctor Who, where there was a DI there, and I was like, man, he's gonna get in trouble. He didn't have a gun. This is terrible. At least with Torchwood, they'd probably shoot him. So, but Torchwood, I guys, I don't think we're gonna move on past this season. I don't know. And maybe we'll talk about this more after this episode, but I don't know. I'm losing my mind watching this show, and pretty soon we've got the new season of Doctor Who starting up, and that's going to take a lot of my time to do. And quite honestly, thinking back on season 2, because I went through and I looked at every episode, and I was like, okay, what are the highlights of season 2? And I looked at it and I was like, boy, there's not a lot. There's they're not bad. Honestly, I think season 2 kind of irons out some of the problems of season 1 and becomes more consistent. But it kind of equals out the highs and the lows of season 1 to where they're just kind of, yeah. They're specifically, I remember there's an arc that is specifically centered around Owen. And I remember that being good, but I also remember Owen being a good character. So now I'm just not sure. And quite honestly, even though I think we had a decent discussion last episode, as I was editing, I was like, there was no reason to react to this episode. We could have just watched it, and we could have come on here and been like, oh yeah, and this is what we said, now we'll watch the finale. But I'm looking at it as I don't even think we need to watch anything of season 2. Honestly, I don't even know if we're going to watch season 2 on our own time. I don't know. I don't think Torchwood is that worth it.
Now,
so
I can watch those on my own if you want to. But again, as a producer, of community theater here, we've got a show coming up, runs through the middle of April, so it's going to be at least April before we even think about getting back to this.
Yeah. I won't entirely put season 3 off the table because, for how much, for the things that people do like about these first 2 seasons, every fan of Torchwood will agree that season 3 is really good. Now again, and I kind of said this on Twitter a little bit, I don't know how good a season 3 reaction will be, because you have to remember, this isn't me reacting to season 3. I did that many years ago. This is him reacting to season 3. He does not get as emotional or attached to characters in these reactions.
I'm not as animated as he is.
As the rest of us, you know? So, I don't know. Even with that, it's like, there's some interesting things to probably discuss with Season 3, so maybe we'll do Season 3. The good news with that is, it is 5 episodes. You get in, you get out. It's one contained story, so we might do that. But I'm thinking probably not going to do any reactions to Season 2. If, and this is still an if, I'm not saying this will happen, but we might watch Season 2 on our own time, and then every 4 or 5 episodes discuss it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But don't expect reactions to Season 2. Quite honestly, I don't think watching Season 1 was that worth it. Even the episodes that were good, that I remembered being good, like Countryside, we got through that and I was like, well, that was good, but I don't know that we needed to spend the time on that, you know? It's not like with Doctor Who, where it's like, you know, here's this really interesting either historical thing or philosophical thing, or, you know, something with the Daleks or something, or all 3 of those put together, and it's like, there's not a lot of that in Torchwood. And especially, too, the fact that by popular demand we watched Out of Time, and then I'm pretty sure we did not give the reaction that people wanted to Out of Time. Basically just being like, I don't know about Owen and this whole story with Diane and stuff, so. The other thing, I guess this does sort of put the Sarah Jane adventures in jeopardy. There are specifically 2 episodes of the Sarah Jane adventures that people want us to watch. I know exactly which ones they are, and I remember them fully. And they are good. We might react to like the first 1 or 2 episodes of the Sarah Jane adventures, and then just take a break, get to those other ones later. So, or with no context, we'll just watch those episodes of the Sarah Jane adventures, which I know we can do. We did that for classic Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. But basically, this has basically been a Torchwood experiment this season. We watched 6 of 13 episodes, which was probably too many episodes. And yeah, I don't know. It's definitely like if I was just like watching this with someone and we weren't, you know, we're not reacting or anything, and I was just showing someone Doctor Who, I would probably be like, okay, do you want to watch Torchwood? If you don't really have an interest, then maybe watch the first episode and be like, if you don't have a major hook with Torchwood, I'd say drop it and just stick with Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So, the Sarah Jane Adventures is better. It is better than Doctor Who, or not better, but better than Torchwood. But even that, I'm like, I don't know how many episodes we could react to that. Also, I'm just not young anymore. I'm not young anymore. I can't do this like I did when I was 23, you know, or 22. I can't do these episodes like I used to, especially when the new season is coming out next month. So, with that, with all of me complaining out of the way, do you have anything else?
I got nothing really, but yeah, I agree with you. This has not hooked me. It like you said, it really varies in the quality of the scripts.
Yeah.
Again, the main thing is there aren't any really likable characters.
No, like you kind of have Jack, but because he's given such a mysterious role, you don't really get a lot of time to connect to him.
Yeah.
Which is so weird because it's like, oh, he has to be all mysterious and, you know, we have to figure things out about him. Despite the fact that we had like 5 episodes with him in Series 1 of Doctor Who where we really got to know him and he was active and doing things. I think definitely the fact that so many of these episodes hinge on Owen.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work. And not a lot of them really do anything with Gwen, aside from she's banging Owen, which is not compelling.
That was a sidetrack. I don't get that at all.
Yeah.
That makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, in one of the episodes when Jack was teaching her how to shoot the guns, I thought, hey, they're going to develop an on-again, will they, won't they sort of thing. But Owen, that made no sense to me.
Yeah.
Now, and when you think about it, from the beginning, we're now up to, 13 episodes?
Yep.
They've killed one member.
Yeah.
Even though they brought her back, they had to kill her again.
They killed Susie.
the guy who's basically the receptionist turns out to nearly have killed them all because of his obsession with his girlfriend being turned into a cyber woman, and then went back to pretty much being a nobody.
Yeah. And he's banging Jack, too, which is weird.
Yeah. And then you got Owen, literally one of the most despicable characters ever, just from, I mean, he doesn't seem to have any moral qualities whatsoever.
Yeah.
Gwen, who we're supposed to be empathetic with, but because of this whole sidetrack thing with Owen, loses all credibility as far as being somebody you want to cheer for. And then Jack, the only reason we're cheering for Jack is we're going, wait a minute, we saw him in Doctor Who, and hopefully he's going to get better, but so far we're not seeing it.
Yeah.
So we're now through the entire first season going, why would we want to continue? If I were watching this 20 years ago, I don't know that I would have continued with season 2.
Yeah, and this is, and then there's Tosh, who's just kind of there.
Yeah. And again, she, for a woman who works with one of the most important agencies in the world when it comes to dealing with the extraterrestrials and the other unexplained phenomena, she is so emotionally unqualified for that.
Yeah.
The fact that she feels so inadequate makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying anything against their actor portrayals. The actors are doing exactly what they were given as scripts and as being directed, but it's like, why?
Yeah,
I think they took an interesting idea, but they haven't gone where they essentially made us believe they were going.
Yeah, and even because season 2 is kind of just more of the same of season 1, and then season 3 is such a departure from the first 2 seasons that it's kind of like it's not even like at that base level of Torchwood anymore. It's just sort of this strange. Again, it's good, but it's this weird, this is very different from the show that it's different from the show you gave us. It's very different from Doctor Who at that point because now it's a serialized season, and it's just like it's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good, but it's just like I don't. It's kind of like when you kind of get to like the later seasons of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., where it's just like, or just as it goes on, it's just like, what is S.H.I.E.L.D. anymore? They don't really have that, and that's mostly not their fault because of MCU shenanigans and stuff, but it's just like, are you the same show that we started with? I'm not really sure. It was still good, but it's just like, okay. So, and then season 4 is like the weirdest thing. It's kind of fun how goofy it is, but it is the weirdest, most different thing from anything else in Doctor Who. And I kind of like it. I know a lot of people hate season 4. I kind of liked it just because it was really out there and weird. So, but yeah, it's definitely, this is a show that never figured out what it wanted to be.
Yeah.
And it's also the thing of like, pretty much after this, they stopped doing spin-offs. They canned Torchwood. The Sarah Jane Adventures had to end because they lost their main character, and then after that, Moffat and Chibnall pretty much were like, no spin-offs. There's technically one during the 12th Doctor's era. I haven't even watched it. It's technically the one thing of Doctor Who I have not watched, but nobody has been clamoring for me to watch it, so I don't know. But now that RTD is back with Doctor Who, I think they're producing like a spin-off about UNIT versus the Sea Devils or something, and I just could not care less about that. It sounds so uninteresting, and now that I'm looking back on this stuff, it's like I don't even know if I'm going to watch that. The problem is I know it will probably tie into Doctor Who. Anywho.
All right, let's watch End of Days.
Yeah.
And maybe this will be the end of Torchwood for us.
Yeah, it's good to get all of that out so we don't have to say that after the episode. So, let's get started.
All right, here we go.
Nice ass.
You watching the news?
Who watches the news?
The first sightings were of UFOs over the Taj Mahal in
Oh my gosh.
Some religious groups are claiming events
Beatles on the
overnight
roof of
are
Abbey
a
Road Studios.
vindication of their teachings.
Here's a guillotine appearance in Paris.
Oh, that's just Paris.
Terrorists bomb things. This is different.
People didn't believe
Historical
that.
terrorists.
Thought they should.
What you're seeing around the world are ripples and aftershocks. The rift is splintering because of you. You opened the rift without knowing what you were doing.
Yes,
You've
that is what
caused the
happens.
temporal cracks to widen. This is not the end of the world. I'm certain of that.
Just the beginning of the end.
Meh. Well, he's been to the future.
Did you have to pick on him in public like that?
All of our actions have consequences.
And all your staff have feelings, Jack. Even Owen.
Well, you would know.
Oh.
Only word I could pick out was Gelligair.
Galligair. There's a Roman fort out in Galligair, built around 75 AD.
So he was on his way there, time splintered, and he ends up here. Excuse me. Hi. Anytime you feel like talking sense. That soldier came through a crack in time. He's not serious, is he?
This sort of thing just doesn't happen. Not in Cardiff.
Just because you can't understand it doesn't mean it isn't true.
I know. Do you think the world's going to end on your shift?
I've seen you use that smile on a lot of people.
What smile?
The smile you use to reassure people when deep down you know everything's gone to shit.
So what happened? She started coughing up blood. We moved her into isolation immediately. An hour or so later, the staff started presenting similar symptoms.
Plague.
Torchwood? Bite-like bumps on the skin, chills, fever, headaches.
Bubonic plague.
Patches on the skin.
That woman isn't from this century. More like the 14th. It's the plain Black Death, Tosh. She's infected Cardiff A&E with the plague. And it's my fault.
People are dropping through time and they are going to bring every disease in history through your doors. So you better be ready.
Owen?
You scared enough yet? Because fuck knows allowed. Come on, Tosh.
Make sure they get the medicine. Call us if things get worse.
How much worse can they get?
You have no idea.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
When?
Come on. Hustle.
Ghosts.
Creep factors.
30 more reports of weevils on the loose.
Good job, Yanto.
Have they got it under control? Tosh, how are they coping?
Owen got the place quarantined and organised treatments for those who've been infected.
Luckily, we have
Only
medicines.
consolation is it's treatable these days, but you know what happens when the next carrier comes through, Jack? Someone carrying smallpox or Ebola or something from the future we don't even know about yet. What do we do next?
Well, it's not doing us any good standing around.
Yeah, gee, what if there is a virus in the future?
We're helpless. Sometime in the next 24 hours, I get retconned. All my memories erased. Yeah, good luck with the end of the world. I would say thanks for the memories.
Wow. Some of this stuff must go back centuries.
Imagine having to spring forward them all.
Scavengers antique pieces. You know so much, you're coming back with us.
I'm sorry.
Damn it. Trace of temporal activity around this location. We need to find out where he is. Come on.
It's a slippery old man.
Kurt Vonnegut called that unstuck in time.
What's happening?
We've got to go, that's all.
Why don't we finish here first?
We've got to go now.
Oh, here we go again. Not always in a hurry with you ever since you started that bloody job. What's
I'm sorry.
I didn't even know they had tasers.
Please, bring me back. Open the rift.
Are these Gelf? Or whatever they were.
Take it easy.
What's going on? Am I dreaming?
Yes.
This is where I work.
You work in a prison?
These are just the cells. But I'm just trying to take care of you. I love you, sweetheart.
What the hell was that?
Just trying to relax.
The pipes.
Fuck you. Oh, helping me bring him here.
I can't understand how Billis was able to show you that vision.
Well, you know, aliens.
Alright? Nobody panic.
What did I just say?
Oh, did she work you?
Kick him. Ah. Ooh. Ah.
Get away from the computer, Gwen. This is a trap. All these cracks around the world, they're diversions. This is what Billis wants. Don't be afraid, he'll check.
Afraid of the creepy old man.
Minnesota. Toshiko. The poor girl who'll screw any passing alien that gives her a pendant. Owen. So strong he gets in a cage with a weevil. Desperate to be mauled. Yanto. Hiding his cyber girlfriend in the basement. Your 3 comrades here pumped bullets into her, remember?
I've got to get Reese back.
Yeah. Because you're so in love with Reese that you spend half your time in Owen's bed.
Fuck you!
Gonna be in charge, Owen? You gotta have significantly bigger balls.
I'm sick of people doubting me.
What have you done?
Oh, good. Grab his jacket.
Oh, hail Abaddon, the great devourer. Come to feast on life.
Oh, you fell for it, you fools! Behold him in all his CG glory.
How do we stop it? Tell me what to do, Jack.
Oh, now you want to know?
Abaddon is the bringer of death. Let's see how he does with me.
Eh.
If he feeds on life, then I'm an all-you-can-eat buffet.
No way!
Man, this is like 3 different Dragon Ball Z plots, I gotta admit. Well, good job. Yeah, hugs all around.
I forgive you.
What would have tempted you? What visions would have convinced you to open the rift?
The right kind of doctor.
The hand.
Jack!
Listen to that sound, though.
Something's taken him. Jack's gone.
Where could Jack Harkness be going? Find out next time on Doctor Who.
So is that the next episode we're going to watch on Doctor Who? Okay.
It is very specific to line up This was originally why I had penciled in, or someone had penciled in on the schedule to watch the first episode of classic Doctor Who before season 3, to line up watching Torchwood properly so that this episode is before episode 11 of season 3. Although granted, I don't think they aired at the same time. I think this aired in 2006, and I think capped off at the beginning of 2007. And then in 2007 they aired Doctor Who season 3, and eventually you get to the ending, and there you go. It all ties nice together in a nice little bow. But that's it. That's the only reason right there to watch Torchwood is for that ending, basically.
Okay, because I have to say, I'm somewhat disappointed. I know this is heresy, but I felt the same way the first time I watched The Empire Strikes Back. Because you're going, wait a minute. This is not a self-contained... I know people will say that Empire is a self-contained movie, but it really isn't.
Well, yeah.
It's a two-parter that ends with Return of the Jedi. They don't explain how everybody went back to where they went before. That makes no sense whatsoever.
That never gets explained. I have no idea how that happened.
And even for early 21st century, that CGI was awful.
Okay, we'll talk about Abaddon in a little bit, but go on.
It's, just confirming what we said before we watched it, that all of these people are so self-centered that you don't end up liking them. I mean, what Jack said to each of them was absolutely true. And yes, he only understands that because he has, the all of time to watch that, or to think about that. But again, you just look at them going, these are awful people.
It's such a weird thing. So this was written by Chris Chibnall, and he also wrote Cyberwoman, and he also wrote Countryside, and I think maybe Ghost Machine, or no, he wrote Day One. So that's about 4 episodes he wrote this season, and this kind of ends the same way Cyberwoman does, which is Jack was 100% right, and we should have listened to him from the beginning.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it's like in Cyberwoman that kind of makes sense. Like, okay, Yanto, you understand why he's doing this because he loved Lisa, and he's trying to save her. And Jack is looking at this as there's a potential Cyberman threat. We need to deal with it. So it's like, okay, this episode basically caps off the arcs of Gwen, Owen, Tosh, and Yanto. And all of their arcs culminate in these are awful people and Jack was right the entire season.
No,
and that's a weird way of writing that.
And I kind of understand their frustration with Jack because he won't tell them how he knows.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's there, the fact that he is the linchpin of Torchwood, and he says, you have to trust me on this. I know it's awful for you, and I know it strains credulity, but you have to understand, if you don't trust me, bad things are going to happen. And guess what? They don't trust him, and bad things happen.
Well, and it's a weird thing, too, because it's like, they're saying, like, oh, well, you don't tell us anything. It's like, but there wasn't really any secrets he was keeping about the rift, because it is exactly what happened. If you open the rift, something awful will come through. Luckily, this, it just happened to be a giant, mile-high creature who feeds on life energy, and Jack conveniently can pull a Goku and just feed it with all the energy it needs until it explodes. I'm slightly disappointed that it just sort of faded away and was just gone. I was hoping either there would be a body that they would have to deal with, or it would just explode. And I remembered that this wasn't going to happen, but I thought, wouldn't that be so much funnier if it exploded into 1 million meat chunks across the city of Cardiff? But Jack is completely right, and he was saying it's like there's nothing we can do without just making the situation worse. So what we need to do is try to deal with the things that have already come through the rift. Yeah. So it's so weird. It's such a weird thing, but yeah. And okay, Abaddon. They joke about, like, you never see crazy stuff in Cardiff. You want to see, like, CSI Cardiff. Let's see how exciting of a show that is. I will say, when you have a giant Godzilla monster running through the town, it's a lot less threatening when it's, like, roaming through the rurals, the suburbia, and maybe there's one apartment building that it doesn't smash, and then it keeps walking. It's like, boy, there was a lot of open fields this creature was walking through, and you start to realize why every Godzilla movie takes place in Tokyo. Because there's so many things to destroy. Cardiff, not so much. So, and...
Well, yeah, part of the problem there was they made it so large,
It's ridiculous.
If it were, only 3 or 4 stories high, and like you said, was wading through the middle of town, and when the people started falling down, I kept thinking, it took me a minute to realize that he was simply absorbing their life force, but they just, there was no, like with him, there was no being pulled out of them. They just all, fell over. So it didn't seem, it wasn't frightening in the least. It didn't seem to have the kind of gravitas that it should have had.
It's just too goofy for this show. Like, this show has been dealing with very dark things, and, like, they've dealt with, like, weevils and Cyberwoman and a woman who banged men to death and stuff. And now here's giant CG monster that Jack has to go have a fight with, and, like, it's like the disconnect there of, like, this looks like something that would be on Doctor Who. In fact, there was an episode with the devil, I guess Abaddon's father, technically, as Billis says, and we had that, but it was also self-contained, and the Doctor was just kind of talking at it, and then he destroyed the pots and all this stuff, but it was just sort of a self-contained, it was a creature trapped in this thing. This is a giant CG gremlin.
You're talking about the Satan Pit?
Yes.
I was thinking all the way back, didn't either the second or third Doctor or somebody confront the demons?
Yeah, there was. I think that was...
But that wasn't Satan, was it? Or was it?
No.
It may have been the third Doctor, I think.
Yeah, it was the third Doctor. I can't remember. That was another one of those weird Master stories. Yeah. Where it's like, the Master has found something else that will destroy the universe for some reason. So, or do you remember it wasn't the Daemons, it was like the time monster, the weird flapping bird thing that was flying around. But you could get away with that back then. Yeah. And, and it's all fine and good. But now, in 2007, with CG, that just, it doesn't work. It especially doesn't work on Torchwood, which has been, it's kind of sold itself as this almost like grounded, dark versions, like, well, yeah, aliens are coming through, but that's not a good thing. And how do the normal people of Earth deal with that? The normal people of Earth don't deal with Abaddon. Thank goodness Jack Harkness was there, and that Rose was so powerful that not only could he defeat Abaddon with all his life energy, but he could still come back from that. So,
I was thinking there was a really bad Tom Cruise movie of the late 80s, maybe early 90s, with Mia Sara and Tim Curry. And Tim Curry played a devil-like character with the big horns, and he was red all over, and had the hooves and everything. So it is very obvious that they could have at least put somebody into prosthetics and makeup, like the Spider Queen. That was pretty frightening.
Yeah.
And film that rather than, because that was just so obviously faked.
And it's also weird because we build up this whole thing, and then immediately, Abaddon is released onto the world, and all of them turn back to Jack and want him to do something. And then the fact that he goes and does that in like less than a minute, like that, it's Abaddon is not on screen very long, and it's just like, all right, and that's over, and nobody else helped him at all. It wasn't like a team effort of something. I don't know what they could have done, but you could have thought of something. Maybe bring back some of the gadgets or something. Like, they use all the alien tech they have at Torchwood to deal with this thing, but no. All he needed was Gwen to drive him over to the fields so that he could go and have this really awkward battle where they just had to film poor John Barrowman screaming at the sky for a minute.
That's like the one where the Fourth Doctor and the other Rogue Time Lord, the mind battle
Morbius.
Morbius.
Yeah.
The brain of Morbius, the mind of Morbius, whatever.
Yeah.
It's that bad.
It's... but again, it's like... It almost gives you a new appreciation for that, because it's like, well, that was the 70s. That was the best they could do. This is 2007. You could have done something else for this. And I do find it interesting because I noticed, again, this was written by Chris Chibnall. This really isn't anything against Chris Chibnall. I'm going to say, was this season not planned out? Like, how much involvement did RTD actually have in this? Because he didn't write the finale, which is supposed to tie all the arcs of each of these episodes together, which didn't.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. I guess Gwen and Reese are good now. She just, I mean, she stopped being with Owen, so I guess there's nowhere to go but up from there with their relationship, but apparently they're fine now, and I don't know. This also just reaffirms that we did not need to react to the last episode, because it really ties nothing into this except Billis and opening the rift. But that was about it. Like, that, for some reason in my head I remembered, they lead into each other, but they're really self-contained stories.
Yeah.
Other than Owen opening the rift carries into this episode. But I mean, we get to this episode, and it's like, yeah, Jack is completely right. Even though it's a whole thing of like, because they bring up like, well, if I hadn't opened the rift, you'd still be stuck in 1941. But they don't go anywhere with that. Yes, it is very dangerous, but he took a risk, and it did work out, or anything. Is like, it all just kind of reinforced what Jack was saying of, yeah, you were wrong. Even if you saved us, you were wrong, and just kept making everything worse. And thank goodness we had a way of dealing with Abaddon in 5 minutes. So, season 2 is not better. Season 2 is not better than this season.
All right, I would say, let's shut it down.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe.
And if you don't want to watch them, I'll watch them. I can watch them on my own.
We can. We'll still watch them. We'll watch season 2 off camera. We're not going to react to season 2. We might we'll do at least one discussion of the episodes, if not a couple in the middle. But that's going to be that, and then maybe we'll sit down and do season 3. The only thing is like the timing of season 3 of like how to do that. But we might do season 3 because season 3 is like good. It's especially because it's one contained story.
Yeah.
5 episodes, they all lead into each other. And I don't know if they're all written by RTD. I would imagine they were, but it definitely fixes the problem of this season and definitely the next season of overarching plot and themes that carry from one episode to the next. That season, it's all nice, it's all good. So we'll think about that. But yeah, we are definitely not coming back to react to season 2. Next season of Doctor Who, we're just going to be watching Doctor Who. I will have the new modern season. What are we on? Season 15 or 41 or 2, depending on which numbering you go by. But But yeah, we might come back for season 3 because that's at least good. I had already planned originally to not do season 4 because it wasn't worth it. Even though I like season 4, I figured it wouldn't be worth it. So, but yeah, that's Torchwood, which is a loaded statement. I feel like. Do you have anything else?
I've got nothing.
Then that is basically it. Thank you for watching this experiment. I guess in the words of Owen Harper, I would say thanks for the memories, but I don't know. With all of that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys on Doctor Who. See you guys later. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There is a playlist with all of our complaining Torchwood reactions, as well as a playlist of all of our Doctor Who reactions that aren't complaining. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.